What if your A1 Mini could finish a print, eject the build plate, load a new one, and keep printing all by itself? It sounds like some kind of DIY hack, but this is actually a ready-made kit called the PlateCycler C1M from Chitu Systems. It's designed specifically for the Bambu Lab A1 Mini and promised to turn a small printer into a machine with a lot more autonomy. We installed it and tested it in 2 different scenarios: an 11-hour multipart robot print and a batch of vases intended for sale. Now we are going to show you whether it actually works or if it just looks good on camera. And stick around until the end because we also ran into a few important things you want to know before using it. The PlateCycler C1M is an automatic build plate swapping system for the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. The idea is simple. Instead of finishing a print and waiting for someone to remove the build plate, this system ejects the used plate and loads a fresh one so the next print can begin automatically. In practice, it solves a very common problem. Your printer finishes a part, but if you're not there to start the next job, the printer just sits idle. With this kit, the A1 Mini can run a sequence of prints using multiple build plates. It's almost like turning a small desktop printer into a miniature production line. Except instead of moving parts along a conveyor belt, it keeps working by swapping entire build plates. But there's one important thing to understand. This does not increase the A1 Mini build volume. It is still a A1 Mini. What changes is the amount of time it can keep working without intervention. In other words, it won't print bigger parts. It will simply keep printing for longer without you having to manually swap the build plates. It's especially useful for overnight printing, where you're sleeping while the printer keeps working. Before installing it, let's take a look at what comes in the box. First, we have the instruction manual, which is pretty important. Then come the 2 push blocks, the tray that holds the stacked build plates, the ejector mechanism that pushes out the used plates, the tray holder, the gripper that pulls in the next plate, a few tools, springs, screws, and 4 build plates equipped with hooks. That's everything included in the kit. One interesting thing is that this is not an electronic upgrade. You're not connecting wires, modifying the printer's firmware, or installing a new control board. The entire system uses the printer's own movements to perform the plate swaps. Let's talk about the installation. Chitu provides an official installation guide right in the box, and they also have step-by-step videos showing the process. We are going to walk through the main parts of the installation and point out the areas that deserve extra attention. Overall, the installation process was straightforward. The parts are easy to attach, and it doesn't feel like one of those intimidating modifications where you need to take half the printer apart. It's mostly a mechanical installation, mounting components, adjusting their position, and make sure everything moves freely. That said, even though the installation was easy, I wouldn't start a long print immediately afterward. It's a good idea to perform a few manual tests first, especially to make sure the build plate loads correctly, ejects correctly, and that nothing is rubbing, binding, or getting stuck. First, we power off the A1 Mini, remove the original build plate, and begin installing the components around the heat bed area. This step is important because anything installed slightly out of alignment here can cause issues later during automatic plate swaps. One of the first components to install is the heat bed cable guide. Its job is to keep the heat bed cable from interfering with the tray or any of the movement parts while the heat bed is moving. This is one of those simple looking parts that makes a big difference because the heat bed cable is constantly moving during operation. Next comes the component that performs the magic of pulling in the next build plate. It needs to be installed correctly because if it's out of position, the plate may not load properly. Take your time here. It's not difficult to install, but proper alignment is important. The tray is where the build plates are stacked before being loaded into the printer. And this is one area I'd pay close attention. The tray heights and alignment matter a lot. If it's too high, too low, or something is interfering with it, the build plates may not load correctly or could get stuck. In our case, one of the issues we encountered was actually related to a section of the tray that could cause the build plate to jam. We'll come back to that later. Now we get to the system that pushes the used plate out of the printer. This is what allows the plate to be ejected once a print is complete. This is where things start getting really interesting, because you realize the kit is using purely mechanical movements to automate something you'd normally do by hand. Before you start printing, I highly recommend testing everything manually. No filaments, no model, just move the system by hand. The goal is to verify that the current plate ejects properly, the next plate loads correctly, and nothing is misaligned. After that, we use the test file provided by Chitu on their website. It's specifically designed to perform plate swaps and verify that everything is working correctly. This step can save you a lot of headaches. If something is going to get stuck, it's much better discovering it now than after 11 hours of printing. Once everything is installed, there are still a few things you need to know about everyday use. It's not as simple as slicing a normal model, pressing print, and walking away. You need to prepare the file so the PlateCycler knows when a print has finished and the build plates should be ejected, and when the next plate should be loaded. The basic workflow looks like this. Prepare your models in the slicer, generate or convert the files for the PlateCycler, load the build plates in the tray, prepare the area where the plates will be ejected, start the print, and monitor the first few swap cycles. To properly test it, we set up two different scenarios. One more complex feature a multipart robot, and another focus on production, using repeated phases. In both tests, we use 4 build plates, but it's worth mentioning that according to Chitu, the system supports up to 10 build plates. So our test wasn't pushing the PlateCycler to its maximum capacity, but it was more than enough to understand how it behaves in a real production sequence. We wanted to answer 2 questions. First, can the system reliably handle a long sequence of prints? Second, does it actually make sense for producing parts intended for sale? The first test was a multipart robot printed in PLA. This was the longest test. It took approximately 11 hours of printing using 4 build plates. This test was interesting because it wasn't just the same part repeated over and over. The model consisted of multiple separate pieces, making it a good way to evaluate whether the PlateCycler could maintain a longer production section without constant intervention. And honestly, when it works, it's incredibly satisfying to watch. You see the printer finish one stage, eject the build plate, load a new one, and immediately continue the process. It really makes you want to sit there and watch the whole thing, which is actually a good thing, because while I was watching, I noticed the printer had started walking across the workbench. The PlateCycler raises the printer slightly, and that was enough to make it move around during operation. So for the next test, we added a bit of tape to keep everything in place. The second test was focused more on production. We printed a batch of PLA vases, simulated a simple, repeatable product with real sales potential. We used 4 build plates, and the entire sequence took roughly 4 hours. Each plate required about 50 minutes. This test is where the PlateCycler really starts to make sense. It's not necessarily for that one huge, unique, highly detailed print. It shines when you're making relatively simple, repeatable parts and want the printer to keep working for longer periods without supervision. Things like planters, keychains, promotional items, small accessories, or products you manufacture in batches. In this scenario, the benefit becomes very obvious. Instead of printing one build plate, coming back, removing it, loading another one, and starting again, you set up the sequence once and let it keep running on its own. So overall, the multipart robot ran about 11 hours. The vases took about 4 hours total, with roughly 50 minutes per build plate. Both tests were printed in PLA using 4 build plates. Even with only 4 plates, it was easy to see the system's potential. Chitu states that it supports up to 10 build plates, which could significantly increase the printer's autonomy. But this is where an important consideration comes in. The more build plates you add to the sequence, sequence, the more important proper setup becomes. Because if a single plate swap fails halfway through, it can affect every print that comes afterward. Now let's get to what might be the most important section of this video, the problems and considerations. Because the PlateCycler is very interesting, but isn't magic. And during our testing, we ran into a few things you should know before using it. The first issue we encountered was the build plate getting stuck inside the tray mechanism. In our case, this happened because of a specific section of the tray that could interfere with the plate's movements. And this wasn't just something we experienced. Chitu actually recommends an emergency fix for this issue, which involves trimming that specific section to prevent the interference. So here's an important point. If your build plate is getting stuck, don't just force the mechanism. You need to identify exactly where it's binding. In our case, the solution was to follow the manufacturer's recommendation and remove the section causing the interference. Another issue we encountered was that the system occasionally became confused during the plate swap sequence. Sometimes it seemed to expect the first build plate to actually be installed, other times it appeared to expect the opposite. As a result, the printer would lose its reference position and start operating with incorrect coordinates. This is actually why you should closely monitor the first few swap cycles. If the sequence starts with the wrong reference points, everything that follows can also be incorrect. The solution here is to carefully verify your file preparation, understand whether the first build plate should already be installed, and confirm that the sequence starts correctly before leaving it unattended. So pay close attention here, especially if you are planning to run long print jobs. Where do the build plates and parts go after ejection? This wasn't exactly a problem during our testing, but it could definitely become one depending on your setup. In our case, the printer was sitting on a large flat workbench, so when a build plate was ejected, it simply slides forward and pushes the previous ejected plate ahead of it. This worked great because none of the parts fell off the plates. We didn't experience any broken prints or damaged parts during the ejection process. However, this depends heavily on how much space you have in front of the printer. If your workbench is too short, if there's limited clearance, or if the printer is positioned close to the edge, the build plate could fall. And that creates two risks. The printed part could break, or the build plate itself could be damaged. For situations like this, Chitu recommends placing a box in front of the printer underneath the ejection area. Ideally, you should also add foam, fabric, or some other soft material inside the box to cushion the impact. You also need to think about the type of parts you are printing. The company especially advises against printing very tall, thin, or highly delicate models, because even if the print comes out perfectly, it still has to survive the ejection process. And if it falls awkwardly, it could break right at the very end, which would be incredibly frustrating. This ties directly into previous points. The PlateCycler makes the most sense for shorter, repeatable, and relatively durable parts. If you are printing something tall, thin, highly detailed, or easily damaged, you need to be much more careful. For vases, keychains, promotional items, small accessories, and other durable products, the system is a much better fit. So keep that in mind when deciding what to print with it. Another thing that's easy to overlook is the physical space required. The A1 Mini is already a compact printer, but once you install the PlateCycler, you also need to account for the build plate loading area and the ejection area. If the printer is positioned too close to a wall, the edge of the table, or another object, the build plate may hit something, get stuck, or fall. So before using the system, I strongly recommend setting everything up on a workbench with plenty of free space, especially in front of the printer. This is probably the most important point of the entire review. The PlateCycler C1M is a very cool system, but isn't a 100% install it and forget it solution. You need to take your time with the installation, perform manual tests, monitor the first few cycles, understand how the files work, and choose appropriate models. If you only print one part per day, this might be more of novelty utility than a necessity. But if you are running batch production, printing keychains, promotional items, planters, small accessories, repetitive components, or products for sale, it starts making a lot more sense. After running those tests, I see the PlateCycler C1M less as a fun accessory and more as a productivity tool. It doesn't improve print quality, it doesn't increase the A1 Mini's build volume, and it doesn't make the printer print faster, but it dramatically increases the amount of time the printer can operate without requiring your attention. And for anyone producing parts in batches, that's a huge advantage. That said, I would only attempt that after validating everything with a smaller number of plates first. Now, let me know in the comments, would you use a system like this on your A1 Mini, or do you still think manually swapping build plates is the safer option? And if you'd like, I can make a follow-up video where I run a real production job with the PlateCycler for several hours and see how far we can push it. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one. Bye-bye!